Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Welcome YouTubers, and welcome to another episode of Mindful Samadhi. Today it's actually morning time, mid-morning, so I thought I'd do this under the Bodhi tree. It's a beautiful calm morning this morning, weather's lovely, so I thought why not do it outside. Today's topic is on the word Samadhi. I'm sure most of you are aware that is my ordination name, but there is no relevance in that today. What we're talking about is Samadhi in the meditative sense. Okay, so Samadhi is a word that gets translated in English as concentration. Now, it was last week I was doing my own practice and I decided to contemplate the word Samadhi, and I spent an hour practicing and just contemplating the word and understanding it on how I feel myself, on what Samadhi means to me. And what I came up with wasn't the word concentration, unfortunately. I have a pretty good grasping of the English language and literature and things like this, and for me personally, I think this is a very bad interpretation of the word, because Samadhi is a Sanskrit word. It's rooted in Sanskrit, which is a very ancient language. This was used thousands of years ago in India, in Vedic literature, also in Buddhism. It's not just Pali the Buddha used. Before this, he was using Sanskrit. He translated things to Pali because the villagers understood Pali, so that is why. But the Buddha originally was also using Sanskrit. So we need to understand and get to the origins of this, so then I can explain what I perceive Samadhi to be. Okay, so let's have a look. I've gone to use AI. AI I think is very beneficial. We need to stay ahead with the times, modern technology, as much as some of us tend to disagree with this. And we believe that there's nothing better than reading a book, or artificial intelligence is bad. At the end of the day, we need to understand that everything has its good and bad. Okay, and with artificial intelligence, the way it operates in a search sense, it goes into a deep search in the internet and it scours the whole of the internet. So whatever knowledge we have put on the internet, AI generally will do a very deep scan and go through and sift all this information and come up with the best results. So like it or not, artificial intelligence is quite beneficial. So I've Googled the word Samadhi in AI, and I've just put in there, sorry, I didn't Google, I put it in AI, Grok in specific, which is Elon Musk's platform. I put in there, what does Samadhi really mean? So I could get an understanding from AI first. And what it explained, I've got it written down here, I printed it out. So Sanskrit, the word Samadhi comes from the Sanskrit roots, which Sam, the first part of Samadhi, means together, complete, or integrated. Okay, so just bear that in mind for a moment. And then the second part of Samadhi, which is D, means mind, intellect, or consciousness. So together, we could put those as complete mind, complete intellect, complete consciousness, or we could put it as integrated mind, integrated intellect, or integrated consciousness. Now, it suggests a state of complete integration or unification of the mind. All right, so this is what AI has come up with. Now, the thing is with using AI, and as all of you meditation practitioners that are intermediate and advanced stages, you will probably agree with me when I say AI has its benefits, but it's never going to have this practical application that we need to apply to get these results and understandings ourselves. It's very theoretical based, and without the practice in meditation, you're only going to get so much information. I don't think you're going to get any form of liberation, deep awareness or enlightenment or nibbana by just reading AI and reading books. You need to have practical applications. So that's where, when I Googled the word, when I put in AI, what does Samadhi really mean? I'm only getting so much. I have to put in the practical application and do the practice, which I'm well aware of. And that's why last week when I was contemplating Samadhi, I came up with a different understanding than concentration. So I'll just put it in context here before I put the page down. So in spiritual traditions like Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism, Samadhi refers to a state of profound meditative absorption where the individual self-merges with the object of meditation or universal consciousness. It often describes as a state of transience, bliss, or oneness with the divine or ultimate reality. Now, what that's saying, it's kind of cross-referencing three different philosophies or traditions there. So it's not just including Buddhism, it's also targeting Hinduism and Jainism. Okay, so there's nothing wrong with that. It's quite a broad spectrum, but Samadhi does have a different meaning with each one of those three different belief systems. Okay, now in Buddhism, I came up with an understanding when I was contemplating this last week in meditation, and I came up with a word that I think best describes Samadhi. Now, it wasn't concentration. I can understand to a certain degree why we've translated it to concentration, and I think that is because to a certain level we need to concentrate. But when you look at it in a Western perspective, I'll give you some examples. When you're a child growing up and you're going to school and you need to, let's just say for example, you're doing a test. What do you need to do when you're doing a test? You need to concentrate. You need to focus on what you're doing. Okay? So to some degree, this has got some truth to it. Okay? And then also when you're doing sports, for example, you're playing sports as you're growing up, you need to concentrate. And what's closely to that word concentrate is to focus. Okay? So what I'm understanding in this is we're not doing these things. We're actually doing meditation. Now, if you were to concentrate in meditation, you would be concentrating on an object, some primary object of some form, be it the abdomen. If you're walking, you're doing the walking, you're focusing on your walking meditation. You might be perhaps focusing on your breathing if you're doing breathing meditation. But you'll usually have a primary object that you're focusing on. Okay, now to concentrate on that concentrate on that object would imply that you're putting in a lot of energy into concentrating on the breath. Now, it's a bit detrimental doing this, because what it's doing for the practitioner, it's making us put a lot of energy into something that naturally occurs. Let me try and put this another way. So to concentrate, we're putting a lot of energy and a lot of focus into concentrating on a primary object like the breath. So we'll be there, concentrate. This is not right. This is where I disagree. I think we need to be a bit more gentle with this. The word concentrate is very heavy word, in my opinion. So what I came up with was a word called unified awareness, because our aim in meditation is our primary object that we perceive. What we want to be doing is becoming one with this object. If we are able to gain Samadhi, we need to become one with the object. And how do we become one with the object? We need to just observe and watch with awareness. We just need to watch and just observe. After some time, so let's use the breath as an example. When we start first initially looking at the breath, we're just observing the breath. We're not changing, we're not altering the breath by any means. Okay? After some time, the breath will slightly alter. It will slightly change. Without us doing anything, it will slightly alter. It might slow down, it might calm, perhaps it might even increase, but there'll be some subtle changes to the breath. Now, we don't want to be taking any action, we just want to observe. Just have pure awareness with this, okay? So once you do that, after some time, what happens is you become one with the breath, and everything externally around us dissipates. It fades away. So our sense doors that we perceive, our taste and smell and touch and sight and hearing, these, and even the mind, even these things, they start to dissipate, and we just become one with this breath. We literally become unified with this breath. So I use the word unified awareness. I think this word is definitely the best way to describe samadhi. Now, you could also loosely translate it as a word like tranquility. Tranquility in Buddhism we like to refer to as like samatha kind of meditation, tranquility, one-pointedness meditation. Samadhi, we need to get, in order to absorb into these states of jhanas, we need to get a oneness with this breath, okay? We need to become one as a whole, unified. One, uni means one, okay? We need to do this in order to get any further progress with our meditation, okay? And this is what I'm classing as samadhi. Like, as a whole broad spectrum, you could say concentration. In the Eightfold Path, we have right concentration. And I think this is where things have got a little bit misunderstood. Right concentration is, I think what the Buddha is trying to tell us is having an understanding of right concentration is not just to concentrate. It's understanding what concentration is. And now, unified awareness to me, I think, is the best example. So if we were to break this word down and understand it, it literally means what I've just said. It means we need to become one with our object. So if it's the breath, we need to just keep observing the breath. This can take a long time, this could take a short time. I'd say majority of the time this will take quite a long time, because we need to calm everything down first and get in a nice tranquil peace of mind, a nice state, before we can start becoming one with this breath. Literally, we're just one. Everything else around us, we don't really perceive anymore, because we've just become unified with this breath, okay? So I had thought of this word, and I was like, this is a very interesting word. Let me chuck this in AI and see what this comes up with, okay? So what artificial intelligence says about unified awareness is quite interesting. So the word unified, it's the mind is whole, without division between subject, being the observer, and object being the observed, okay? There is no sense of separation or scattered attention. Does that make sense now? So we're not jumping back and forth with thoughts, we're not hearing, we're not having these sense perceptions deceive us. What we're doing is we're just focusing on the breath and just having this awareness of the breath, concentrating on the breath until we become unified, okay? So awareness is a clear, heightened state of consciousness that is fully present and attuned to the moment or the object of focus. And together, unified awareness refers to a state where the practitioner experiences seamless, non-dual perception of reality, often accompanied by profound clarity, peace, or connection to a greater whole. Okay? So I'm pretty sure that sums it up for you guys now. I'm pretty sure you understand what I'm trying to get at. Is samadhi, to just translate to the word concentration, I don't think this is a very generalized word. We're not being specific enough in the meditation practical sense of the term, okay? As meditation practitioners, we need to be more defined and more specific if we want to progress in our meditation, if we want to absorb into these states of jhanas, if we want to understand what this liberation and enlightenment means. We need to really understand these words if we're to translate them to English. There's been some scholars in the past that have translated a lot of English words, and I'll get to those later in time. But I think we need to be a bit more specific if we're to advance in our practice, okay? So samadhi, you could probably better translated to unified awareness, becoming one with our primary object. Okay? The subject is ourselves. We are the observer, and we're observing what? What is the subject we're observing? It could be the breath, it could be the abdomen. If we're doing samatha meditation, it could be an object. It could be we're focusing on the image of the Buddha. We might be doing kasana meditation. We're focusing on a dot on the wall. The Zen practitioners, they focus on dots, or they focus on something on the wall, and they will envision this for 4 or 5 minutes, and then gently they will close their eyes and envision it in their mind, and this object they perceive, and then it gets smaller and smaller and fades away. But that does not leave their mind. That is a form of one-pointedness, a form of tranquility. So whatever it is, whatever practice we're doing in meditation, we need to understand, we need to unite or unify ourselves with whatever it is that we're perceiving as the object, and become one. Okay? We need to become one with the object and understand, until we do this, we're not going to get any progression. Okay? We're just going to be observing the in and out breath, observing perhaps the sensation on the nostrils, or the tip of the nose, or at the back of the nose, or if it's the abdomen, we're perceiving the in and out breath and the rising and falling of the abdomen. This is only going to get you so far. Okay? We need to become one with this. This can take time. This takes patience. This takes virya, energy. This takes essentially the 5 spiritual faculties. Okay, we need to look at these at a deep level. Now, I'm going to explain them all in deeper levels in a few videos, but essentially faith, energy, mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom. These are the 5 spiritual faculties, in so-called broken down into English terms. Okay, now again, concentration, I think unified awareness is better, but that's the 5 spiritual faculties, how they've been translated in English. Now we have the Pali terms, which is Saddha, Virya, Sati, Samadhi, and Panya. Okay, now I won't go into the other 4 too much because we're just doing Samadhi today. Okay, I will go into the other topics. Not necessarily I'm going to change or alter them, because some of them are more than well translated in English, so there's no need to change those. But as for Samadhi, I thought I'd just touch on that topic today and just explain it the way I did it, the way I understood it, and the way I perceived it through my own practice and just contemplating. Okay, this was a contemplation meditation I did, and it was on Samadhi, because I was focusing on my breath and my personal experience. Concentration, I think, is not the right word for a lot of people, especially if you're an English or Western practitioner. Concentration is not really the right word. Samadhi is a very complex word, so we need to be very careful when we translate these things. Okay, so that is all for today. Just a quick video on the topic. I hope that gives you guys some clarification on Samadhi. And until next time, happy practice everybody, and have a lovely day. Te rawan sanai.